In this video, we'll be assembling a Spyker 80lb broadcast push spreader. This video applies to both 80lb models, powder coat and stainless steel, model numbers SPY 81P and SPY 81S. Tools required: 2 7/16" wrench-in sockets and 2 1/2" wrench-in sockets. Safety glasses and gloves are also recommended. Using a pair of scissors, snip all of the zip ties that are connecting the hardware to the hopper. Step 1. Remove everything from the box. Carefully remove the handle, the wheels, the wheel assembly, and the hardware out of the box. Making sure to place the hopper upside down in your work area. Note: page 4 of your manual is a hardware identifier. The illustrations on page 4 are to scale for faster identification of hardware during assembly. Step 2. Adding the wheels. Slide 2 washers onto the end of the wheel axle and then slide on the tire. This wheel will drive the axle and the spinner. Lock the wheel in place to the axle with the clevis pin and then slide the cotter ring through the end of the clevis pin. Step 3. Adding the idle wheel. Slide 1 washer onto the wheel axle and then slide on the second tire. And add another washer to the end of the axle. Note: if necessary, you can add an additional washer to reduce the play in the axle. Secure the idle wheel in place with the ring locking pin. Slide the straight edge of the pin through the hole in the end of the axle and clip the circular part of the pin around the end of the axle, as shown. Step 4. Adding the stand. From the inside, run 1 hex head bolt through the frame and through one of the holes in the end of the stand. Secure one side of the tube in place with a nylon lock nut and repeat on the other side. Sliding a hex head bolt from the inside through the frame and through the hole in the end of the stand. Add a hex head bolt and secure the stand to the frame using a 7/16" socket and wrench. Now flip the spreader over onto its wheels and stand. Step 5. Adding the handle. From the inside of the frame, run a carriage bolt through the curved slot of the frame. Place one of the lock washers with teeth between the square hole of the handle and the curved slot on the frame. The carriage bolt will also pass through the square hole of the lower handle and the end will be facing outward. Slide a washer onto the end of this bolt and loosely secure in place using a nylon lock nut. Then repeat this step on the other side. From the inside, run a carriage bolt through the curved slot of the frame. Place one of the lock washers with teeth between the square hole of the handle and the curved slot of the frame, passing it through the square hole of the lower handle, adding a washer and a nylon lock nut. Step 6. Add 1 washer to a hex head bolt, and starting from the outside edge, run the bolt through the circular holes on the lower handle and frame. Then, slide another washer onto the end of the bolt and loosely secure with a nylon lock nut, but do not fully tighten just yet. Repeat this step on the other side, adding a washer to a hex head bolt, then starting from the outside edge, running the bolt through the circular holes of the lower handle and frame, adding another washer and a nylon lock nut, and using a 1/2" socket and wrench to loosely tighten in place. Step 7. Line the holes in the ends of the handle weldment up with the holes in the middle of the lower handle tube. Secure the handle to the lower handle tubing by running 4 hex head bolts from the outside through the 2 handle ends and add 4 nylon lock nuts from the inside of the lower handle. Tighten all 4 bolts in place, securing the upper handle to the lower handle using a 7/16 inch socket and wrench. Step 8. Setting the spreader handle height. At this stage, you can determine the angle and height you will want your handle to be. At the highest point, the handle will be 37 inches off the ground. At the lowest point, the handle will be 32 inches off the ground. Spyker's ergonomic handle adjustment can be customized for operators from 5'3" to 6'6" tall. The most ergonomic position for your handle to be in should be in front of the middle of your stomach. You shouldn't have to bend forward or push from chest height to comfortably push the spreader forward. Using the slotted holes at the base of the handle, slide the handle between the tallest and shortest setting to put it where you would like. Then, tighten the hardware fully from steps 5 and 6 with a 1/2 inch socket wrench to secure the handle height and angle in place. Step 9. Adding the control lever stop. Note, the orientation is very important on this step. The control lever stop needs to be centered over the 3 holes on the right side of the handle, the same side as the on-off sticker. The lip of the control lever stop needs to be pointed out and away from the handle tubing as shown. Leave the center hole open and run 2 hex head bolts through the 2 outer holes of the handle weldment. The bolts should also pass through the control lever stop. Then add 2 1/4 inch washers to the ends of the bolts and 2 nylon lock nuts. At this stage, verify the control lever stop is centered before tightening the nuts completely, securing everything in place. Step 10. Adding the linkage bar. Slide the linkage bar into the linkage assembly from the side, from left to right at a low angle, then lift it up towards the handle as shown. Step 11. Adding the linkage guide. Using the lower circular hole of the linkage guide, add it to the linkage bar. Step 12. Securing the linkage guide. Insert a hex head bolt through the remaining hole at the top of the lower handle, add a washer, and loosely secure in place with a nylon lock nut. But do not fully tighten just yet. Step 13. Adding the control lever. At a sideways angle, slide the bottom hole of the control lever onto the linkage bar. Then pass the long bolt through both frames, the control linkage stop, and the handle. Add the nylon flange bushing to the bolt. Be sure to have the extended notch of the flange facing the lever. Then onto the end of the bolt, add the control lever spring and loosely keep the parts in place with a nylon washer and a nylon lock nut. Do not fully tighten just yet. Step 14. Checking the rate gate. Ensure the rate gate closes completely when the gate control lever is pulled back and locked into place. Step 15. Rate gate adjustment. If the gate does not close, follow these steps. After making sure the hopper is empty, turn the Spyker dial to number 9. Remove the spring tension on the gate control lever by moving the lever to the open position. Then loosen the 2 bolts that attach the control lever stop. Slide the control lever stop forwards very slightly and then retighten the bolts. Your rate gate should completely close when pulled back and locked into place. If the rate gate is still open, then repeat this step, further adjusting the control lever stop until the gate is closed. Step 16. Tightening the bolts. The center bolt that runs through the center control lever needs to be tightened enough to keep the lever secure, but also free enough to function. Secure the linkage guide in place by tightening the bolt that goes through the lower handle. Step 17. Checking and adjusting the Accuway. Start rotating the Accuway adjustment screw clockwise until it is out of view while looking down into the hopper. Moving the Accuway plate will shift where the material lands on the spinner. If your spread pattern is heavy to the left, then shift the Accuway to the back half of the opening to drop the material onto the front of the plate. If your spread pattern is heavy to the right, then shift the Accuway to the front half of the opening to drop the material towards the back of the plate. Step 18. The screen and cover. Place the screen down inside of the hopper and attach the hopper cover by hooking it around the rim of the hopper. Use the nylon pull tab on one corner of the hopper cover to fully secure the cover to the hopper. Congratulations, your Spyker 80-pound broadcast push spreader is now assembled. For questions, call Spyker Customer Service at 1-800-972-6130.